Are you really hard on yourself? If you make a mistake, do you think about it over and over again and what you should have done differently, what you could have said differently? Do you berate yourself? Are you kind of mean internally? I remember I used to speak to myself internally like my absolute worst enemy. I would never talk to anybody that way, let alone someone that really mattered to me, like my best friend. So in today's episode of Healing with Lori, I'm going through the importance of going easy on yourself and being kind. Now today we live in a world where there's so much focus on your production, your output, what you can do. And if you're not actually producing at a level that you're okay with, or your peers are okay with, or your bosses and so on are okay with, then we can be really, really tough on ourselves in a way that doesn't actually help. Yes, there are things that we need to be disciplined about, that we need to have firmness and internal boundaries and external boundaries with. I'm not saying to just totally lay back and just let whatever happens happen. But what I am suggesting is that especially people who are healing the mother wound or a father wound, we can be overly tough on ourselves. We can be highly critical. And what ends up happening is we often have what's called the internalized mother or the internalized father. So those voices that we hear that say, you're too this or you're not enough that, oftentimes those are literally the words that we heard at least once, if not on repeat, growing up. And this we internalize as our own way to keep parenting ourselves through life. Now, this doesn't mean you have to stay stuck this way. I remember that for me, even up until the last couple of years, I started noticing layers of the voice that was not actually mine, something that I adopted at a younger age. And some of the words that would come up for me are, you're too sensitive. You're too sensitive is one that, kind of funny enough, I felt very sensitive about. It really bothered me. And when I would have emotions like I was really sad or I was feeling very angry about something, this voice would come in and shut down that emotion. Like, you're too sensitive, i.e., don't feel that way. It's not okay. You're being too much. But really, that was from my experience with my mom. That was coming from a triggered place. She felt pushed up against a wall in disagreements we were having, or in the ways that my growth was challenging her because she was a single mom and she built her life around me and my brother. So me growing up, showing signs that I'm ready to move out of that child-parent role that had been happening for a really long time and kind of be my own person, that was very threatening. So in conversations we were having and all the emotions coming up, one of my things was I needed to learn how to self-regulate. And that was a concept that was far beyond what I even understood at the time. And it really would have helped as we evolved into a different stage in our relationship. But I remember that my mom, when she felt backed into a corner, she would throw some kind of insult out there, like, you're too sensitive, something to shut down my part of the conversation. But that message stuck with me, and I didn't really realize it until even just a few years ago. And what helped me get through that was, one, to recognize it. So if you're in this process where you realize, hey, something's off, I feel really drained, I'm really sad a lot, or I'm angry a lot, I just have these like overwhelming emotions, and you're starting to notice that there are thoughts you're thinking that are not helping you. They're actually quite mean and kind of nitpicky, or not even related to the subject that is going on around you, right? Telling myself I'm too sensitive when there's actually a really big thing that has to get dealt with is not helpful. Sometimes it's not even related to what's going on. So first step for you that I would suggest is to really pay attention to the things that you do think and when. What brings them on? So what situations are you in? What people are you around? How much care have you been taking care of yourself? Have you been sleeping well, eating well? Have you been moving? Are you hydrated? All of these things. Are you overstimulated? Are you overstressed out by things? So all of these can play a role in how much our old habits kick into gear. So old thinking habits, old behavioral habits, these things tend to come up when we are drained, when we have fewer resources at our disposal, when we have less wiggle room to pause and then choose how we move forward with the situation. So that really helped me personally, was to actually start noticing, oh, that's the exact sentence. Like, you're too sensitive. That's the exact sentence that I hear inside me. That's what I tell myself. That's how I shut myself down from resolving what I'm actually experiencing, from preventing this situation from spiraling further and actually getting to a solution. Because when you shut yourself down, when you keep quote unquote parenting yourself the way that you were parented, in ways that, were your own parents' limitations at the time. That's just honestly what it was. Either through a lack of education, a lack of experience, a lack of understanding, or an insistence that they're right. There could be a lot of different reasons that your parent parented you the way that they did. And for me, moving out of step by step, layer by layer, the things that were my mom's limitations and how I was carrying that on in myself. And there will probably be other things in the future that I'll be like, oh, I didn't realize that was there. But the cool thing about doing your own healing at this depth is that when you build a foundation of inner trust, self-love, self-care, actually having that respectful curiosity within yourself instead of the habitual, I don't want to deal with it, this is too much, I can't, I don't know how, which I was personally in for a long time. And if you're there, I feel you, there's a way out of it, you're not stuck, it's not forever, it's truly not, it's one piece of the cake of your life. I was going to say puzzle, but let's make it fun. Cake's more fun. Unless you like puzzles, whatever. So really tracing back to, okay, I know where this is coming from. I remember my mom saying this to me. And even if you can't place where this voice is coming from, it could have been something that you picked up culturally. Maybe it was in a movie. Maybe it's more of a subtle message that you picked up about yourself or about how to treat yourself. Maybe it's from a sibling or kids at school. It could have even been from your teens or your 20s, right? These aren't isolated to the first 7 years of your life, although that's where a lot of people say that those are the most important years of how your mind and your nervous system get shaped. But I think there's far more to it than that. So to simplify it though, let's practice being in tune and in touch and just aware and curious and more open with your own patterns. When are they happening? Why? What are all the little threads that might be involved in that? And then give yourself some grace, okay? That's another part of this that really helped me to transform out of that internalized mother and even the internalized father that could be really critical and impatient. And because let's face it, kids are hopped up on sugar and they have so much energy and imagination and without, a gaggle of people around to kind of disperse that energy, it can be a lot for one person or two people to handle. And especially when that person is under-resourced themselves. Maybe they're a single parent like my mom was. Maybe they have financial issues like the majority of the middle and lower classes. And even the higher classes. Like everyone has their own set of stresses. So as we're going through these processes of healing and self-inquiry and digging into what was your childhood like? What was your adolescence like? What is your relationship with your mom or your dad or other people in your life like now? And how can that be better? And where does that even start? I think that a lot of that starts with each of us taking more accountability for ourselves, which can be so challenging, especially at the beginning, and especially when we have mixed emotions. And those mixed emotions will probably go with you throughout many stages of your process of getting out of the thick of the mother wound in particular. But learning how to love yourself, care for yourself, and have that patience and trust, that is something that's cultivated daily with small actions. So again, 1, be curious, be open, really start paying attention to that inner voice that is talking to you, that is guiding your decisions and either shutting you down or making you even more angry. And you're certainly not alone in what you're going through. This is a very human evolution. And again, the second part that I was bringing up is to be kind to yourself through this. I think that we have this idea as a general cultural idea that, tough love is always better, or that discipline is what you need more of. And that's not always the case. Sometimes it is. Sometimes it's exactly the thing you need. Sometimes it's not, though. So I'd like you to kind of play around and get curious and try some different things. Whatever has not been working for you, even though that feels like the thing to keep trying because you don't have to think about it. It comes easily, it comes naturally, even though it leads to more challenges. So start actually getting a little bit curious and taking a little bit more time to decide what you want to do. So if you are in the middle of some intense emotions, or you're anxious about maybe your next phone call or interaction with your mom, or maybe you have another family member or your own partner or your boss or somebody that's bringing up these things in you, some situation or interaction that you're really not looking forward to. As you prepare for this, or as you're coming down off of those interactions, take some moments to just pause. Okay, we want to end up stopping the cycle, the patterns. Notice when you're talking to yourself in a way that is not constructive, that's very destructive, that's not going to help you advance more, right? And pause. Just notice it, pause, don't even judge it. Just notice it. Okay, that thing is happening. I'm choosing that thought right now, but I'm aware of it. Okay, this small pause is freaking huge. It will change your life if you continue to choose to pause. It will build a new habit. Okay, it will strengthen your will and your prefrontal cortex and all of these parts of your brain that will now allow yourself to develop a new pattern. If you just continue doing what you've always done, well then you can expect very similar, if not the exact same results in the future. And you're here because you're not liking those results. And notice, pause. Then you have that split second or couple of seconds for space and to choose something different. So sometimes we need to do this right in the moment because we don't even realize what our thoughts are going to be. We don't know our pattern quite yet. And really, to stop yourself in the middle of it is really impressive and also really necessary. But once you're there, once you're in that spot where you can actually pause, take a moment, and then decide what you're going to do from there. Do you need to self-soothe? Do you need to self-regulate in some way? Do you just have an anchor statement that you need to start using? right? There are a number of things that you can do. Do you need to change your environment? Do you need to breathe? There's so many options. But just to simplify it, what I would like you to try to do from this point is, again, have the curiosity. Once you start understanding, this is the thing that I tell myself, or this is the thing I habitually do, right? I always just like shut down, or I always get uncontrollably angry and I fire something back at somebody. I say something that I can't take back, or I pout and I sulk and I just hope that they're going to catch the message. Just be brutally honest with yourself, because that's how you're going to get out of this. If you pretend like everything that you're doing is okay, you're going to keep having the same things happen. So once you start getting more practiced at these first two parts, then you can move on to how you actually start interacting with yourself differently. So you notice, I'm doing this thing again. I'm thinking this thing again, or I want to start engaging in this behavior again. And you pause and you give yourself space to choose something new. Something that really helped me was to actually get curious with myself, to build more of that internal relationship and that internal trust in a non-judgmental way. So I radically had to change how I was dealing with my own feelings and how I was shaming myself and turning that pattern into legit curiosity. And that real curiosity led to faster come downs from intense emotions. It led to more actual peace after I felt all these feelings. Like, I felt satisfied. I felt more whole. I felt more safe with myself because I was showing up for myself in a different way. So here's what this might look like. Okay, let's have an example here. So I am also a singer. It's so fun singing with people. And my own journey through that has been a whole thing that I will talk about at some other point. But the way that I used to talk to myself when I would make mistakes was really brutal and really, really harsh and just not helpful. So here's an example of how what I'm talking about shows up. So after a show, oh my gosh, I'm so unhappy with how that went. Like, I suck. I'm the worst at this. I don't think I'm ever going to get good at this. Pause. The I suck judgments. Okay, I see this. I suck. Really tell me how it went today. Like, show up for yourself. Ask yourself, tell me more about this. Okay, well, I started with this song that I wasn't really comfortable with, and I cracked, and then I started shrinking, and I lost all my form, and it was really embarrassing, and I was stuck in my head. Okay. That really sounds like it would be really uncomfortable. It was so uncomfortable. I'm so embarrassed. I can't even believe that I showed up like that after all my practice. Yeah, that sounds really rough. I'm sorry that you experienced that. What else happened? Okay, and you just go through this process of actually being curious, and you just ask yourself. You don't need a formula necessarily for this. There are specific questions you can ask yourself, but just for now, actually show up the way you would want someone else to show up for you. The way you wished as you were a kid. You went to your mom, you went to your dad, and you're like, oh, this person was like this at school to me, and it was really brutal. How would you have liked them to receive that information? How would you have liked them to talk to you through that? So do that for yourself now. Really get curious. And no answer that comes back from you is too ridiculous or too whatever. Just be curious and ask. And the one thing you can do is gentle redirections. As you get better at this, you can do some gentle redirections, like, okay, yeah, I hear you're feeling like really down on yourself like that. But I want to remind you, okay, you can do like gentle redirections, but I want to remind you that you showed up, and that's really great. And I'm proud of you for doing that. And I see how much work you've put in. And you know what? You're going to get another chance to try this again. Let's actually sit down and figure out how we can make that better. What do you think you need to do to make this better next time? Right? But if you just jump to, oh, okay, you didn't like that thing, that was embarrassing. All right, well, let's do this instead. You move past the feelings. And that is a missed opportunity to develop trust with yourself, to develop emotional intimacy inside, and to reduce self-shame, which, quite frankly, a lot of women healing the mother wound really need to focus on healing that self-shame. So we can do that internally with ourselves and how we show up in all of these tender moments, because that is how we either repeat patterns that we were taught growing up, or that we internalized from our culture or from the people around us, or that's just what worked for us at a young age. It was, hey, if I'm quiet, there's less fighting around me. Or, hey, if I really am just loud and I stand up for everything and I'm erratic and I do all these things, then people listen to me, right? So we learn things based on what worked for us in the past. But right now, we are experiencing that it doesn't work for us. We're not getting the results that we want, right? We're not happy, we're not fulfilled, we're exhausted, we're overgiving, we're overthinking, we're too mean to ourselves, whatever the thing is. We see that the past strategy is not an appropriate present strategy. And it's certainly not going to work for the future version of us that we dream of being, right? The one that has the successful business, or has started the family, or has the great marriage, or the better relationship with their friends, has reached their financial goals or their health goals, finally went to Europe, or whatever your thing is, okay? So do those curious, tender moments with yourself and actually be kind to yourself through that. Like, show some compassion, okay? And I will say this process may feel very strange at first. It certainly did for me when I was starting out. I was part of a mother wound healing course, and my coach taught us in group calls and in a supportive online community. Plus, we had actual articles to read and videos to watch and journal prompts to go through and various things. So in that process, I learned about inner child work. And at first, it was such a clumsy thing. Like, I was just kind of tripping my way through it. Like, is this how I talk to myself? And is this what I do? And certainly my coach helped a lot. She could answer a lot of my am I on the right path questions that saved me a lot of time. Like, thank you. Thank you so much for being there. And so that's what I'm also putting out there for March 1st. I'm going to be running a self-love course. It's going to walk you through some of the best things that I have experienced personally in my healing transformation that have worked for me and I've seen work for other women, and I want to share with you. And because I know that the group coaching was so successful for me and other people, and the online community, I'm also making that available in this program. So if you want more information, just click the link below and I will send that to you. So as I was starting my own inner child work, like I said, I was very confused. I was also skeptical. I'm like, is this gonna work? This feels a little hard to grasp. How is me talking to child version of me that no longer exists, how is this going to work? And really, I had so much resistance at first because that part of me was still stuck in wanting my mom to be the one to show up for me. Didn't want me. Wanted my mom specifically. And it was throwing little tantrums inside me. which is understandable because there's so much attachment still. And a large part of our healing is learning to detach and accept and grieve the loss and then move forward and build something new. Step into the next natural thing. So as you're going through this and you're being more curious with yourself, you're being more open-minded about it, you're catching your own patterns, which, high five, that's awesome. That's exactly what you want to do. As you're doing this more and more, it will become less awkward. It will become more natural. You will feel more like you understand what's going on and you know what to do next. And if you're not sure, you have more of that trust out of that experience that you keep showing up for yourself and figuring it out. You have more of that trust that you will figure it out, even if you don't exactly know right now. So that's just a skill that you develop that you presently might not have. And it's okay that you don't have that. Why would you have it? Who taught you? Where would you learn that? Okay, but now you know that the absence of that skill, the absence of that self-awareness, the self-trust, the self-care and self-love to this degree, the absence of the ability to pause and choose how you're going to respond to yourself. These things are affecting you in a big way. And you know it, and that's why you're here, and good for you for showing up. I celebrate that. I celebrate that even when you don't feel like working on yourself. Been there, will be there again with other things. Even when you don't feel like it, you still show up. And truly, that's one of the biggest differences between people that reach the outcome that they're seeking and those that don't. Because everyone has that inner resistance. Everybody has that. It's just, what do we do with that? How much do we let that stop us from moving forward? So I also want to talk about, as you're going through your process of learning, I want to remind you that when you were a baby and you were learning how to walk, what was that process really like? Did you automatically learn it and you were off to the races? No. No, think about a baby learning how to walk, right? They get up, they fall back down on their butt. They get up and they fall down. They get up, they fall down. They might take a couple steps and then they fall down. They may take some steps because someone's holding their hand or they're holding on to a surface and they fall back down. But eventually, they keep going, they get further, they don't need the help anymore, they can make it far distances without falling, right? You are in a similar phase in your life. It's just not walking, it's something different. So I want you to actually pause and just think about that for a second and feel that in your body and go, wait, I'm just at a different natural progression in my life. I've reached a new thing that I need to learn how to do. I don't know how to do it yet. Okay. Let me be nice to myself through this. And even beyond the logical choice to be nice to yourself is be present in it. Also a skill, but one that we were born with and then got out of the habit of using. But just like when you are learning how to walk, there's not this internal dialogue because this is when you're pre-verbal. This is before you are thinking in a language. It's a lot of body sensation. So be more in your body as you're going for the next thing in your life, and you already know what that is. When I ask you, what do you really want to do? What's your next important thing in your life? Small or big? Automatically, I'm sure you've thought of something. And probably immediately after that, you're like, no. Too big, too scary, I don't know how, overwhelming, I don't think I can, etc., etc. Okay, so all of these habitual things that are coming up in the thoughts. Sometimes the best way to move past that is not to try to deal with it with more thought. Counterintuitively, there is the approach I mentioned earlier. There's also the body momentum forward. okay? Like literally showing up and doing it, not trying to talk yourself into it or talk yourself out of it, just step forward, just do the thing. And then watch what happens after. So another practice for you is to have that beginner's mindset that people talk about. And for me, I liken it to that baby learning how to walk, right? Which you've already done. You've already had this mindset before. We're kind of going back in order to move forward. So it's already innately in you. And whatever your next thing is, whether it's your self-care, self-love, it's parts of healing the mother wound, it's going for that business, whatever your thing is. Actually be as present as possible with it and just take that next movement without self-recrimination, without self-judgment, and know that when you fall down, which is going to happen, period, it's inevitable. It's going to happen pretty soon. Pretty soon after you get yourself back up, you're going to come back down. So when that happens, cut the self-judgments that come up, okay? Because those don't exist in this scenario of learning from a baby's point of view or from the beginner mindset, because you have no one to compare yourself to, right? Like a baby, when it's learning to walk, doesn't go, Sally already knows how to walk. I'm so far behind Sally. Man, I'm never going to learn how to walk. No. They're just bumbling around, right? They're not taking it too seriously, even though it might be frustrating sometimes. It's not the way that we deal with it as adults now. So sometimes our cognitive development can work against us, right? It can be too much up here. And so as you're going forward with your next desired thing, small or large in your life, and I encourage you to do it because I know that you can, and if it's in you, it's going to bother you until you do it. So be more just in your body, more present to it, expect the fall, get back up, do the next thing, okay? Do your best not to get caught up in the chatter, and if you are caught up in the chatter, select, pause, pick the kind redirection for yourself, okay? Find the nice way to get to a solution and be curious with yourself in the process. All right, so I hope that this helps you be more encouraged to be kind to yourself, to go for the things that matter to you, and to really celebrate yourself in the process. Because think about also, when a baby's learning to walk, how exciting is that to witness, right? We're also, as the adults around that infant, not going, hey, your brother learned to walk 3 years ago. What took you so long? We don't we know where the kid is at. And we're so excited that they're doing the next natural thing, right? They're exactly where they need to be, and we see that. We're not judging them for not being further along. We are literally helping them. We are holding their hand through it when they need it. We're encouraging them. We're going, yay, you got it. And we're taking photos, and we're so excited, and we're cheering them on. And then we're sending these photos to our family and our friends. We're like, they took their first steps. So what I really encourage you to do is surround yourself with more people like that. Even if you got one in your life, oh my God, that's a big deal. So your closest friends, maybe it's your partner, okay? Maybe you have someone in your family that's like that with you. Maybe you actually join one of these programs, like the self-love course that's coming up, and you have direct support from a coach like me and a community of women. Whatever route you take, get yourself people in your life that are going to provide that environment for you to succeed. Your environment matters more than you realize. So get yourself more people in your life that are supportive of you, that actually celebrate you, and you feed off of that energy of their excitement, right? It's not doctored, it's not made up. It's like they really see the you that you don't see yet because they've done it. They have a different perspective of you. So get more people like that in your life. Get more of those celebratory folks, okay? And learn how to do this inside yourself, which is what I described at the beginning of the video. So as you learn these skills too, you'll be more of that person to yourself, and then you take that everywhere with you. And that's one of the best feelings. That's some of the most inner peace, some of the best peace of mind you're ever gonna have, okay? So every bit of this investment in yourself, every moment that you spend being kind to yourself, being curious, actually changing your internal patterns, that is going to stay with you for life. So good for you for doing that, okay? Then you get to be that person who genuinely shows up and says, man, good for you. You did this. Or you know what? That part didn't work out, but we're gonna figure it out. I'm gonna figure it out. Okay? And then you show up as that person for yourself. And I would love for that to happen for you. And I see that you're already here and you're learning and you're open. And so that's great. You're already a step ahead of where you were yesterday, or even 20, 30 minutes ago, right? So good for you. I celebrate you. I acknowledge that effort that you're putting in. And I really encourage you, sign up in the link below, get more info on the self-love course that's coming up this March 1st, 2026. Get more clarity on what works, what doesn't work, and ask your questions and get some answers. Thank you for working on yourself. Just as a fellow human, I see that the more you elevate yourself, the more that ripples out and everybody benefits. Okay? Plus, you really matter. You matter. Even if it didn't impact other people around you. You lifting yourself up is so important.